this matrix, we in this fishbowl, we in this system, because that's what it is. It's interesting that the as a creator, you are experiencing your creation's experience. You
Yes.
created something and it's moving about. The clockmaker is one of the things that people may know about. The clockmaker, he winds the clock up and let it run. She winds the clock up and let it run. They wind the clock up and let it run. But you're experiencing, you know what I mean? You created something that's crazy. It's like you created Pinocchio. You know the Pinocchio story, right? His nose grow, but that's the
I'm gonna
point.
give you something
Hold,
closer to
let
home.
me. I got you. Hold on. Let me say this though, so I can say my point, and then you take it. That you've created something. I'm using Pinocchio, but the wooden boy. Not only that, the wooden boy wanted to have a soul, right? Which is these other creations. He wanted to have because we already have it, so that's not what we want. But the guy who made Pinocchio can actually infuse himself into Pinocchio and experience Pinocchio's life from within Pinocchio. And not just look at Pinocchio and observe Pinocchio and observe him from an outside source, but you actually put yourself there and cut yourself off from yourself except for the energy, and you get to experience that which Pinocchio has experienced. And that's very, very powerful to think about, that that's what you are. And then you get inundated by the things around you. And so Pinocchio's issue was that he couldn't lie. So he's just taking a aspect of his experience. But the guy who made him
And then,
confused himself. Go ahead.
and then when he did lie, his nose grew big. And the metaphysical symbol behind that is that he started changing,
Yes.
and that has
Deforming.
he started deforming and mutating. And when you take us, that's what has happened to us. We have became like others, like other beings, and that's not who we are. So we have started mutating. We have started deforming. We not know ourselves, and we're no longer brothers and sisters. We're no longer a village. We're no longer a community. We're not any of that. We are selfish. We're murderous. We're rapists. No feelings. No compassion. It's all about self fulfillment. And you give us a couple of trinkets, a couple of coins, a couple of jewels, a couple of clothes, and we think we've made it. But you have to go deeper with that and say, why are we like that? Because we have been stripped from having nothing for all eternity to when we get something, we don't know how to act and we forget who we are. If I just be like them, then I'll be accepted. You no longer want to wear your hair. You no longer want to have your dreadlocks, your curly hair, your afro. You want to have these long flowing extensions. You and then if you want to wear your locks, you can't get a job, so now you have to cut your hair. Just think about it. We are the only group of people that cannot be themselves even in this day. If we talk a certain type of language because they can't understand, it becomes slang, ebonics, hip hop, all of this crap. When in fact we're different beings and we should allow to be free and be who we are. I don't knock you because you speak a language that I can't understand. I was following YouTube and this lady was in a Starbucks, a recessive lady. For those that don't know what recessive is, because everybody thinks that people are all these colors, recessive just means is a non-colored person. It doesn't carry a dominant gene. Okay? So you're not Caucasian, you're not African, you're not white, you're not black. It's the language that is just dumb people down. So, and you have to retrain yourself and look at these and start studying the dictionary and the etymon of words. But anyway, she was in Starbucks, and it was college students in there, and they were speaking. I think they were of Asian origins, and she was really offended because these group of college students were speaking their native tongue to each other in Starbucks, studying, actually preparing for an exam, midterm exams. Well, the end of the year, right? And she was just offended. She felt that because they were in America and she couldn't understand what they were saying, that they should, and they're in an American restaurant, that they should be talking the language that she can understand. First of all, you're eavesdropping. That's another thing. Just
Yeah, that's the
nosy.
first thing.
The first thing, you eavesdropping. You just nosy. You in Starbucks sitting down with your papers or your magazine or your computer. Why don't you mind your own business?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's in everybody's business, but not checking in their own back door or front door. In her case,
Mm-hmm.
it was so bad till the employees at Starbucks had to ask her to leave.
I mean, she was called. Was she walked up on the students, or just making a wailing out in the middle of the place?
She was sitting next to the students and she was yelling at them.
Mm-hmm.
So, the students now are saying, asking the Starbucks people that, she's, they want to come over and ask, well, what's going on? She's yelling at them. They're not speaking it. You have to see this YouTuber. They're not speaking the language. They're speaking gibberish.
Mm.
Now, understand, when we came over here, we also spoke gibberish.
Mm-hmm.
The English language is not our language. That's their language.
Mm-hmm.
And most of, if not all of the other cultures know their language. We don't even know our language. We can only assume that this may be our language. And then because we're darker skinned, everybody feels that we only came from Africa.
So it means you only speak Swahili or
You don't even know
what
about
is
Africa. Africa, which is the Middle East, have multitude of language. We can speak Arabic. We can speak. I can't even get into
yeah,
that
you speak
because
every
every
language.
tribe
You speak
have
every,
different.
yeah,
Even within the
absolutely.
continent, every tribe have a different language. Even within the continent,
Right,
you understand?
right.
So these people sit up and have made us feel like we're dumb, we're stupid, we're ignorant, we're this, we're that. And DNA wise, we were born into feeling insecure about ourselves because it was beat out of us. It was beat out of us. So when you come up with names that don't fit what they think are of particular origins and they see your face, you know, and they're like, oh, okay, so as our name, our parents gave us, Earl and Kaylin, you know, those names fit a certain particular group. And as you both know, when we interact and show our faces and they see us and, oh, you're what I expected. Well, what did you expect? Or they hear us on the phone and they say, and we meet in person, you know, oh, you weren't what I expected. Well, what did you expect? Not knocking my culture, saying that, Shaquita and Lakeisha and all them, kudos to the sisters. Very educated, highly educated within this system. But those names keep them blacked out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Shaquita sound like she from the projects. How
Who's that?
so?
Exactly. Who said that? Where is that written? And
Well,
so I can read that and see what else is on there because no one said that. I didn't say Alice, meaning that she lives in the project.
you know. So some of our indoctrinations have became their indoctrinations too. So when we hear Mary Beth, we know instantly that is not us. And when we see Mary Beth and she look like us, we instantly laugh and say, "Oh well, damn." Okay.
I guess I was wrong.
Guess I was
And
wrong.
then the other thing that comes across my mind when you do something like that, it's like, oh, so your people, they were confused. So
And
they
that's
named you
wrong.
with that crap, that bull crap name that they gave you, because they should
Well,
have
and
gave
then what
you,
is the
but that's wrong.
what is the
Because the name should be a
comment?
name.
But what is the comment that even our parents raised
Yeah,
us with? Is that we gave you guys these names so that when you grow up and become part of society, you would have less resistance, unlike what we did
exactly.
growing up with these particular names.
Exactly.
But once they see us, we still get the same resistance as they did.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And you just saying get opportunity, like Grandpa Anderson, that name that they got. He had told me you can use Elgon Jahiel if you want to, and I gave I. But if you want to work in this country,
You
you better
have to
use
use
Anderson.
Anderson. Earl G.
Earl D.
Anderson.
Anderson, super genius. You got to use
Okay?
that. But I walk in 300 pounds, 6'4", and shake everybody down in the building, and I'm escorted off because I'm scared to have the people in there. Why? Because it's something in the
Because
fear of.
yeah,
If they
because
feel the creator.
because the
That's
creator
what it is.
created you like this, and so
When I walk in, that's what you feeling. You feeling God, and you got to remove that because there's none in you.
and you
I'm just
fear
got to straight up say it.
and you fearful. And you're fearful. That's something within you. But
Okay.
again,
I know. I'm going on the wrong on that path.
that's not a wrong path. That's a legitimate path. And that's another thing that we as people have to stop doing is apologizing for saying was truly there. That's in the DNA. They talk about post traumatic stress syndrome. No, that's in our DNA. So don't apologize for something you say that's wrapped up along in your DNA, which is nothing but trauma, pain. You don't have happiness in your DNA. This is what you and I trip is to learn and bringing along our ancestors that is within inside of us is giving them that happiness that they could not have. And what are we doing? Adding on to the trauma that they already done added on to us inside of our DNA because that was the design. We both were teen parents. We've got persecuted for that to this day.